on a minute. Did you just click on a video that promised you that you could be more high value than other women? How dare you? I'm kidding. There's nothing wrong with secretly wanting to compete with other women. In fact, intrasexual competition is alive and well. In other words, women are always competing with other women, and the same goes with men. The only difference is us women mostly compete in much more covert and behind your back kind of ways than men do. And there's no shame in recognizing that. In fact, the more you try to ignore this fact, the more superficial you have to become, and the less attuned you become to both other women and men. After all, other women will still compete with you, even if you don't want to compete with them. You see, intrasexual competition is a part of the human experience, and it's a game that I want you to become good at. If intrasexual competition wasn't here on Earth to serve in some way, then you and I wouldn't have made it this far. You and I are the offspring of women and men who have successfully competed with other members of their own sex. So, give them a nod of thanks, because you wouldn't be here today without them. Okay, it's Renee here, the founder of thefemininewoman.com, and in this video, let's talk about the 3 undercover ways to be more high value over other women and get him to choose you. So imagine this for a second. You wake up tomorrow morning from a beautiful sleep, and suddenly you notice that you have this newfound sense of certainty inside of you. No, not confidence, because confidence is often superficial, but certainty. Certainty that you have the power to make any man look at you, not just with sexual desire, but look at you as if you were the only woman in the entire world. Wouldn't that feel nice? Now imagine a man that you perceive high value in. He's strong, handsome, intelligent, and capable. He has so much value that it makes you cry thinking about it. Now, imagine him wanting to make you his very own for life. Imagine him wanting to make sure that you are okay. Imagine him wanting to marry you, to take care of you, be faithful to you and only you for the rest of your life here on Earth. Like flipping a magic switch. Ta-da! And you somehow know for sure that you are the one. Yes, the one. Kind of like Neo was the one in the movie The Matrix. But you're the one to men. One of those women with the X factor. The one who men can't quite figure out, but are drawn to, like men were drawn to Marilyn Monroe in the 60s. The one who men don't just want to have sex with, but always fall in love with. Men want to go deeper with you, deeper into the relationship, that is. No, not just that kind of deeper. The one whom men don't bat an eye at spending money on. The one whom men show little resistance to committing to. Would you want this feeling of certainty if you could have it? Or would you shy away from such an opportunity, not wanting to risk getting hurt or embarrassing yourself? Because I know how hard it is to believe when you've been very hurt in the past. This is not to diminish your past disappointments in men, but allow me to quickly share something with you. I've been doing this for 9 years now, and my confidence in any woman being able to inspire men to protect them, love them, and commit to them only grows over time. It wasn't always this way. I used to think that men are either good men or bad men, selfish men or giving men, and that we couldn't influence how they feel around us. As it turns out, I was wrong. I've come to realize that for both men and women, it's not about luck. It's how they show up that matters. Okay, key point number 1. Be clear on which competition you are trying to win. Choose your battles carefully, in other words. What do I mean? I mean that most women these days make the disastrous mistake of entering the competition of who can be the most sexy or visually attractive to men. Or worse, women trying to out-slut each other. It's like pricing yourself lower than others to undercut them. Disastrous, right? Only problem is, you end up looking just like another piece of meat. Are you really just another commodity? Or do you also have a soul? The competition you should be entering is the competition of showing up as the one and only, not the one of many. If you want a committed, loving, passionate, and sacred relationship for the long term, then act like a woman who wants that by not leading with your sex appeal. Because what that does is it just appeals to men's sex drive, not to their desire to connect with you and take care of you. You can still have sex appeal, don't get me wrong. Just don't lead with your sex appeal from the get-go, because that would be a painful mistake on your part. Hey, I don't blame you for wanting to be desired. We are all driven by sex. Sex is wonderful and it gets our genes passed on. However, I'm not asking you to put away your sex appeal forever. I'm asking you to consider the value in not leading with your need to be desired. You see, if what you truly want is a man to fall in love with you, then the competition you should be entering into when dating is not really the one of being sexually attractive, unfortunately. Instead of leading with your sexiness, which is, by the way, very plentiful in this world, you will need to lead with your desire to connect and attract a man emotionally. The more you signal to men your readiness for sex from the first minute, even if you justify it as dressing for yourself, the more likely it is that the men you want, no matter his quality, will categorize you in the one of many category. So does this mean that you need to actually tone down your sex appeal to men? Yes, in the beginning, if you're truly serious about men falling in love with you rather than just treating you as a commodity. So be smarter than your competition on Instagram, Tinder, Bumble, and Match.com. Don't be a sexual commodity. That's what almost everyone else is trying to be. By the way, this is why I made my free DVD, Becoming His One and Only. Yes, you can get yourself a free copy of that by going to www.boodvd.com. That's BHOODVD.com. But more on that later. Okay, key point number 2, show high value vulnerability. What is high value vulnerability? Well, let's put this into context. If we were talking about dating, then to show high value vulnerability from the first date would be to not show up with masks on. So essentially, be the first woman he's ever dated who doesn't show up with masks on. Obviously, high value vulnerability is a very deep topic. And if you were in a relationship and you wanted to utilize high value vulnerability, you'd have a lot more to learn. And we talk at depth about high value vulnerability in our programs. But for the purposes of this video today, we will be talking about dating. So what does it mean to show up without masks on? It means to not worry about being in control. Here's an example. I was nervous and embarrassed the very first time my husband and I went out on a proper dinner date. Granted, we were young and didn't have much money at all, so we did not go on many dinner dates and instead spent many hours walking around the city or talking in the car instead. However, this one time was the very first time he took me out for dinner ever, and I was a little nervous and I was answering a question that he had asked me. As I answered the question, I was waving my hands around, and whilst I was talking, I got very excited and I lost control of myself. And I accidentally whacked the fork on the edge of my own side of the table, and it flew up in the air and slammed back down on the table with a loud whack. I turned red like a bell pepper. I thought, oh my God, he can really see me for who I am now. I realized it was obvious that I wasn't in control of myself. Oh well. It is what it is, right? He laughed it off, and to be honest, I'm still like that today. It's him, actually, who first appreciated that in me later on. He laughed about it happily and said, I like that. It's a good thing. It shows you're not trying hard to be in control. I'm not the type of woman who is always in control, and you don't need to be either. Some men might be assholes and judge you and ridicule you for not having great knowledge or great capabilities, but do you really want a man who wants to suppress you in this way? Men generally like to feel in control, as you would already know. And so men who haven't learned to appreciate femininity will always be more likely to suppress your femininity and vulnerability. So just be aware of that. You can, of course, reassure him that life is not always about being in control and that it's okay to let go and live a little. Okay, key point number 3. Lead with value rather than taking value. There is one thing I want you to understand. Most people just make this silly mistake of going to relationships to take. And when you do this over and over, it drains from the connection you have with the other person. I'm sure you've been on the receiving end of this yourself with men at times, right? You see, as women, our primary driver is to seek investment from men. We want resources and we want a committed relationship. Unfortunately, for men, the default position is to minimize investment in a woman unless she is his one and only. Then they will beg you to commit to them. So help a man to feel like he won gold with you by appreciating that it's important to lead with value first, rather than just seeing a man for what he can give you. For example, his money, status, his approval and validation, and maybe even marriage. And yes, if I was talking to men, I'd tell them to do exactly the same. Lead with value. But I want you to also practice leading with value for your own sake. I want you to learn to lead with value. So what would that look like? Well, it's different in different contexts. But here's a quick tip. Leading with value for you as a woman, if you want a committed relationship, would mean to look to establish the 2 things that truly matter to men for a committed relationship: emotional attraction and emotional connection. These are the things that naturally trigger the need for a relationship with you in men. Otherwise, they won't seek a truly committed relationship with you. Attraction and connection are the 2 critical things that make a relationship work. So instead of investing in your worries and your anxieties, how about giving yourself the gift of certainty and confidence? Give yourself that gift of certainty in your body by knowing that the important things are really to build attraction and connection. And that also equals leading with value. So connect to a man's soul and appreciate him as a masculine soul. Eventually, if you focus on building emotional connection and emotional attraction, the 2 most important things, you actually will either discover that you've created a beautiful, sacred connection with a man, or you'll discover through your own gut instinct or intuition by connecting with him that he doesn't value connection at all. You see, when you look to take value instead of give value, you will be much slower to find out the truth about a man's intentions. Because when you take, you're not really attuned to the other person. You're attuned to your own impulses and perceived scarcities in your life. Okay, that concludes the 3 key points. If you've watched this far, then make sure that you check out another video I put together on the 3 things that make women high value to men. I'll put the links in the description. I did make that video a while ago, so the pace of the video was a little slow, and I don't want to waste your time, so make sure that you watch the video in double speed. YouTube is good like that. Otherwise, you might be interested in a video that I made on the 6 behaviors you should never tolerate in a man. Again, links will be in the description. All right, it's giveaway time now. Since we're talking about high value and showing up in a high value way, I want to give away 3 of these lovely mugs. It says on the mug, a cup of high value. So every time you take a drink, you'll be reminded that you are the ultimate high value woman, and you'll have a reminder about how you should show up. So we are giving away 3 of these mugs. All you have to do to enter this giveaway draw is hit the red subscribe button to this channel, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment below this video. So we will choose 3 random winners, and if you win, we'll make sure that you get your hands on a copy of this mug. Now, perhaps you can tell me about your stories or experiences with competition with other women. Have other women ever tried to push you down or compete with you? It's often in silent and quiet ways, but I bet you can still feel it, can't you? I bet other women have competed with you in the past, and I'd love to hear about your experiences with these women. And one last thing before I go, if you haven't gotten your hands on a copy of my new DVD titled Becoming His One and Only, then it's a great time to do so right now. The promise of this DVD is to give you the 5 secrets to have your chosen man fall in love with you and beg you to be his one and only. And the best thing is, instead of charging hundreds of dollars like we do on some of our programs, I want to give this DVD to you for free. Why? Well, because I want to see this world full of highly esteemed, deeply loving, and emotionally resourceful women. Because that is going to create a world full of healthy, loving, and passionate relationships. And because I want to see my children grow up in a world where there is an abundance of love, strength, and connectedness. So if you want a copy of this game-changing DVD, just find the link in the description or just go to www.bhoodvd.com, boodvd.com. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you for watching, and make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you know when I upload a brand new video. Oh, and before I forget, we've just started a brand new Facebook group as a way to bring our community of women together. Women on my blog have been asking for this since the Feminine Woman blog began in 2009. Better late than never, hey? The title of this group is High Value Feminine Women, and the purpose of this group is to give you the awareness, the knowledge, and skills to meet, attract, and deeply connect with high value men by helping you tap into not only your own feminine instincts and intuition, but also by helping you have a 360-degree understanding of the masculine perspective. So allow me to formally invite you to join us there inside this new Facebook group. I'll make sure to add a link in the description where you can join. Okay, finally, that's it. I hope you had a lovely Christmas, and I'll see you inside our group.